Let's go and talk with lawyer extraordinaire Jeff O'Brien. They pay me to do this, Jeff. You know that, right? I mean, it's not a ton, but they do pay me to do this.
Some interesting you get some interesting talkbacks for sure.
Yeah, it's been fun as of late. You should hear all the ones that don't make it on the air for an abundance of different reasons.
Maybe you need like an after the show.
Yeah.
Play some of those.
Yeah, I know. I need to. I really need to do a post show soon. Unfortunately, staffing woes keep me from being able to do that as Brett in there shakes his head swiftly up and down. All right, Supreme Court Justice John Roberts. And we're going to talk, and I want to talk to you about the Senator Eichhorn situation. But let's go here first. I know this sparked quite a bit of reaction from you. Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts issued a rare statement on Tuesday pushing back on a push by some Republicans to impeach federal judges who have sided against President Donald Trump's second-term administration. I mean, this is a number of different issues. It's almost become sport for these federal judges, much in the same way these activists are out there torching Teslas. You have these activist judges that are pushing back on the president. Over the past few weeks, a couple of House Republicans have unveiled articles of impeachment against the federal judges who issued rulings unfavorable to the Trump administration, arguing that they have become judicial activists. The Daily Wire reported the latest set of impeachment articles was introduced against James Boasberg, the Obama-appointed judge blocking Trump's invocation of the Alien Enemies Act to deport violent, criminal, illegal migrants. And we talked a bit about these activist judges in recent conversations. I know you wanted to speak specifically to the comments from Chief Justice John Roberts. So with that, lawyer extraordinaire Jeff O'Brien, I'll hand the show over to you. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I read something leading up to our conversation, John. I think there's been something like 46 of these lower court rulings stopping, DOJ or other initiatives from the administration. And, we've talked before about the structure of federal courts. These are district court judges in federal courts that have, they have a limited jurisdiction over their limited district, and they're issuing these permanent injunctions that supposedly have nationwide impact. And yeah, people are getting tired of it. And I think longtime listeners will know, I have been a defender of the Chief Justice for a long time with a lot of decisions that other conservatives disagreed with. And, his court doesn't like to take up these emergency petitions. There's a process where you can seek emergency relief from a district court decision by going directly to the Supreme Court, and there's the emergency type orders. The Roberts Court doesn't like to issue them, and I'm like, okay, that's fine, but you can't come out then and say, oh no, we need to let the appeals process take its course. No considering articles of impeachment against these judges. Well, he's going to have to make a decision here. As much as he likes to try to keep the courts out of politics, it's not possible here. He's going to have to get his hands dirty, and he's going to have to do something. Whether it be, he can't just wait for these cases to come up on appeal and then overturn them. The damage is done at that point. I mean, now we're talking. The latest one was a judge ordering that USID be reinstated, fully funded, and all the employees brought back.
Right.
And, this is a little bit reminiscent. We were talking on the phone yesterday ahead of this. We're kind of at an inflection point. Back during the New Deal times, when the U.S. Supreme Court was striking down FDR's initiatives, and that's when this whole idea, he had the idea of adding Supreme Court justices. The first court packing plan, he was going to add justices to get these things through because he was frustrated with what was going on. Ultimately, miraculously, after that court packing plan was introduced and then pulled off the table, is when the Supreme Court suddenly found that these New Deal programs were constitutional. We're getting to the point here, and I think that's part of the rationale behind the bringing the articles of impeachment. We know there's not going to be 67 votes in the Senate to throw out a judge, but to make them uncomfortable and have to deal with this. Or I saw Senator Grassley, who's the chair of the Judiciary Committee, posting on X about bringing these judges in for hearings, possibly. Newt Gingrich saying something like that they're, we should bring them in and have them explain these rulings, right? As he starts to make those judges that are making these rulings uncomfortable, where they can't just sit in their courtroom, rule like this, and walk away. If it starts to get uncomfortable, maybe this behavior, is curtailed, and they allow the administration to proceed. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. One other thing I'll mention is, this idea that you can file these lawsuits in some, deep blue state, so whether it be the Southern District of New York or someplace in California or Washington State, wherever it is, and then getting these rulings that have nationwide impact. On a state level, John, when we want to sue an executive branch official or executive branch agency, we have to file those cases all in Ramsey County because that's where St. Paul is and that's the seat of government in this state. Maybe one easy reform is all these cases should be brought in the D.C. circuit because that's where the federal government is. Enough of this forum shopping across the country to find a friendly judge that was appointed by, a president from the other party to try to slow up the current office holder.
Could Chief Justice Roberts in this case, talking with lawyer extraordinaire Jeff O'Brien, in his statement criticizing the Republicans to impeach these federal judges, let's look at it from a different way. Would it be at all appropriate for Justice Roberts to go and criticize the federal judges for their actions, or would that be sort of out of the scope of something that would be deemed an appropriate response from a sitting Supreme Court justice? And I have sort of a second part to this, but I'll have you answer the first part first.
I would say that, a specific comments or criticism from the Chief Justice on specific judges or specific rulings maybe would in my opinion would cross the line.
Okay.
But for the judge to go out to say, like a law school, and give a speech about the separation of powers and, kind of each branch staying in their own lane constitutionally as a kind of a veiled suggestion that, hey, lower courts, you're going too far here. I think that would be more helpful than adding fuel to the fire that he did yesterday. If nothing else, John, he should have stayed out of it.
Right. Okay. So let me take this another step. If prior to Justice Roberts issuing this statement pushing back against Republicans regarding the impeachment of federal judges, let's say that hadn't happened yet, okay? And let me say I asked you the same question. Would it be appropriate for Roberts to do that? Would you have answered the same way to the other question? My point being here, and I'll go ahead and I won't beat around the bush on this. My point being is I don't want to give any excuses to Roberts, but is this potentially Roberts trying to signal both? Saying, hey, Republicans, knock it off, while also addressing the federal judge issue here, too? I'm trying to get to the heart of Roberts' motivation in all of this.
That's a good point, John. And I just saw it was a post on, I think it was Red State earlier this morning that suggested that this was his way of saying, back off the impeachment, we'll take care of you on the appeals. That's one way you could interpret what he said, but I just don't think the way that I think that the public is getting upset at everything that they've voted for being stopped by a lower court judge. The genie may be out of the bottle at that point, but I can see the argument when you parse what he said. But it's the timing of it, right? He does it not as, the first rumblings about these impeachment proceedings start happening, but directly after President Trump fires out a post on Truth Social criticizing the judges and supporting impeachment, right? It's all about timing. Now it comes out and it looks like he's, being critical of the president versus saying, we've got your back, we'll take care of these on when they come up in front of us. lay off the impeachment talk. I can see they are how that his words could be spun that way. I think it was just ill-timed.
Let me play a couple of comments that rolled in regarding this particular issue. More statements than questions, Jeff, but we can respond to these.
Rich here. So when the Supreme Court ruled against Joe Biden against student loan forgiveness, he went ahead and did it anyway. It ignored the Supreme Court. Now these federal district judges think they have the power. So when you look back, you look at who really acted like a dictator. Usually when a dictator steps down, he pardons his family members.
Well, yeah, and there's no even beyond that. Let me play one more here, and then I'll comment because this relates to what I'm going to say.
Rogue, poorly educated, liberal activist judges need to just be ignored from here on out. Let them judges go to the Supreme Court if they've got a serious problem. I think the administration just needs to laugh in their face and say, "Get out of here, move on." Just ignore the rulings and just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, there certainly has been no party exclusivity relating to the ignoring of federal judge rulings, and we've seen that time and time again. And plenty of talking heads on the left when Biden was in office that was saying that Joe Biden needs to go and just ignore their rulings as well. I have another question with regard to all this, but just curious if you had any general comments to the talkbacks that rolled in.
Well, that would be what we refer to as the Andrew Jackson approach, right? The court has made its order, now let them enforce it, right? Jackson was famous for that. It was like, fine, I don't care. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Let's see you come out and enforce your order. And that's a little bit what President Biden did with the student loan thing. He just basically said, "Nah, we're not going to pay attention to it. We're going to do it. We're going to just keep rolling, right?" And that was daring the Supreme Court to step in and take further action. The Trump administration got a little bit of that in their blood on over the weekend with the Tren de Aragua folks being sent to El Salvador on the planes, right? They got those planes in the air before the judge came out with this ruling, and so then it looked absolutely absurd. We've got the judge trying to order planes full of deported criminals back into the U.S., right? The optics of that looked horrible. And so, yeah, I think we've got there's a problem here of the courts trying to enforce these crazy lower court rulings. And in terms of, everyone's talk about, the separation of the executive and the judicial branch and the legislative branch. I'd be curious to see what the Chief Justice would say if tomorrow the president came out with an executive order saying federal district courts aren't permitted to issue permanent injunctions with nationwide impact. I'm sure he would scream bloody murder, and I'd be like, that's my point. Keep your guys in your lane.
Right.
And I'll stay in my lane.
Do we have any indications at all, like where beyond the obvious of sort of pushback on Trump and not liking Trump or Trump derangement syndrome, whatever you want to call it, are there other, actors in play here? Do we have any evidence of that are pushing these federal judges to enact these rulings? Is that something that needs to be tracked in any way, or can judges just issue these rulings on their own?
This would be a good case for, there's been a lot of talk about, a lot of the motivations of the judges during the Trump prosecutions in New York and family members having ties different places. This, I think, would be a good point for the judiciary committees in both the House and the Senate to take a look at. I've read reports, unconfirmed, I have not verified them, but I have seen some comments particularly on X, that some of these judges have spouses or family members that are working with these NGOs. So when a judge is deciding, to reinstate USID, is he basically hooking up the gravy train again, right? So I think those are the kinds of things, judges, we're just like lawyers, we have strict conflict of interest rules. They have strict conflict of interest rules. Do we have judges making these rulings basically, kind of protecting their own nest.
The order on the USAID one, the argument made me chuckle because apparently the judge had said that it's keeping Elon and Doge from being able to do the job that they want to do by going and shutting down USAID, and it's just, I have to shake my head at that, Jeff O'Brien. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, they've, in my opinion, John, they've overstepped their bounds of where what they should be, where they should be doing, and I think they're getting into policy making. And the problem with these, when you issue an injunction, you're deciding a likelihood of success on the merits, and that's why you're issuing the injunction. These are wide open questions in terms of some of who has the authority to do some of these things. And you certainly don't have it as a slam dunk that one side or the other is going to prevail. And, it's one thing to let these cases just play out in the normal course, which is what they've done, by the way, when you have, a lot of times when you have conservatives bringing these cases, they just let them play out in the normal course. And by the time it actually gets to the point of being decided, the issue is moot. We saw that here at the state level with these recall petitions, right? All of a sudden, they went back now, so there's no nonfeasance. Okay, but when it's the issue of this emergency relief that keeps being granted, and I think there is going to have to be some efforts to curtail the use of those remedies certainly at the lower court level to stop some of this stuff.
Lawyer extraordinaire Jeff O'Brien, thank you for the time this morning. We are out of time speaking with you, but I appreciate the conversation.
Thanks, John.
Coming up, deeply disturbing calls for Minnesota senator to resign grow after alleged solicitation of minor. We'll give you the details on that. We're going to get to the DFL and Republican response. We'll hear your talkbacks. Plus, on almost every single issue right now, the Democrats are completely lost. I have the audio evidence to share with you. Do not go anywhere. You're listening to Twin Cities News Talk, AM 1130 and 103.5 FM, broadcasting from the 651 Carpet, home of the Next Day Install Studios.
Your stomach is a mess and you feel lousy. Something is just off, but you don't know what. Yeah, we get it. You've tried every fad diet and supplement under the sun, and none of it worked. Here's the truth. Your gut's a mess, and your body is letting you know. You're just too busy, and you ignore the signs, making it worse. Viome gets straight to the point, analyzing your gut microbiome to give you a personalized health plan that actually works. Your gut is how your body processes everything that you consume. Stop ignoring the signs. It's time to do something real. Get Viome and fix your gut now. Dial **gut to get $110 off any test. That's *488 to receive a link to the offer.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
For some of us, personal finances aren't just personal. They include a lot more people than ourselves. Loved ones, neighbors, the communities we call home, and the causes we hold in our hearts. At Thrivent, we help plan your financial picture with the bigger picture in mind. Because even though our business is helping guide your finances, our ambition is to make it mean so much more. Thrivent, where money means more. Connect with us at Thrivent.com.
At Home Service Plus, it's our job to understand our customers' appliance uh-ohs, even if they sound a little funny.
So, my furnace is making this crazy noise like...
dirty burners.
And then, my clothes dryer sounded like...
Right, worn out bell.
Oh, good, okay. But then I heard this...
Yep, definitely the water heater.
Aha! Sounds good to me.
Repair plans start as low as $17.95 per month. Enroll now at centerpointenergy.com/HSP.